Yes, please continue, Chopra sir.
Okay, thank you. Now, I would have liked to have done a little bit about learning lessons, but I've skipped that part. And what I would like to say at the end is that as researchers, what we are really researching, we are trying to understand some truths. As scientists, that is our job, to uncover the truth. But what is the purpose of our truths? The purpose of uncovering the truth is to improve life on Earth. Not just human life, also other beings on Earth. And for that, very often, as the previous speaker pointed out, that there are a lot of things that are being done that are not right, that are causing as much destruction as they are causing development. And they need to be done properly. So it is our job as scientists to speak truth to power, to the people in power. Unko pasand aaye ya na aaye, we don't have to worry about that. But we as scientists must stand by the integrity of our science. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chopra. I think it has been quite inspiring talk, and I will again request if there are questions to Dr. Chopra, we can come back to you. Just we'll not have much time, but 1 or 2 questions to each panelist. Now it is my pleasure to invite the third panelist, Dr. Tejaswini Patil, CC of Kumaon. If she has joined, she may give us a little glimpse of what is going on in terms of forest fires and the invasive species in the forest of Uttarakhand, and how the forest department is trying to manage and mitigate these issues. Over to Dr. Patil, please. Dr. Patil, you may like to finish in 12 to 15 minutes, because already time is over, so a brief thing will be nice. Thank you. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Rawat, and thank you for inviting me to this webinar. It is always a pleasure to talk to college students and researchers, because I've been told that the majority of the people who are in the panel, who are listening today, they are from your colleges and the universities. So it is always good to talk to the young people today who are going to be our tomorrow. So I have made a very small presentation that will help to adhere to the main points which I want to emphasize. I've been told to speak on invasive species. I think you have disabled host participant screen sharing. Is it possible to?
Dr. Tiwari, can
or I have
Dr.
given
Patil?
Dr. Tiwari a copy of my presentation. Please. If you can share it from there, that also
Dr.
is
Harsh,
fine.
please. Dr. Harsh Sawan.
So just give me a minute.
Yeah.
Sure. In the meantime, since I've been asked to speak on invasive species and the forest fire and how we are working to mitigate these concerns created by these two issues, since see, there are always two things: there's a theory and a practice. Whatever comes from the research field ultimately will have to be given to the forest department or the people who are actually working in the field to implement in the field. So the importance of research work is very highly important. Like if you are able to study some typical environment, some typical change in the environment, some typical ecological factors, which can be converted to practice, then the value of that research is very high. So like we are living in Uttarakhand. Uttarakhand is Devbhoomi, and it is actually a Devbhoomi because the number of endemic species that we have here, the kind of biodiversity that we have here, it is unthinkable. Like we are a biodiversity hotspot And Uttarakhand Himalayas are like, even from our ancient history, our Ramayana se bhi, Lakshman ji, when he was he had fallen on the battlefield, Hanuman had to come to Uttarakhand to collect the required medicinal herbs. So this is the importance of the medicinal herbs which are there in Uttarakhand and which have been recognized from our hoary past.
Ma'am, you can share your screen now.
Okay, thank you so much. So I'm sharing a small presentation. It is just a lot of photographs to make you appreciate the beauty of the Himalayas while we're sitting inside our offices. So this is the view from Nainital. I'm sure most of you have seen it. It is right in front of your college. So as I said, Uttarakhand is a very important part of India and the Indian Himalayas. We have got a huge chunk of the Indian forest cover, like 3.15% of the India's forest cover is in Uttarakhand. All our major rivers are from Uttarakhand. All our major medicinal plants are from Uttarakhand. It is quite possible that one of you researchers as college students may in future use one of our herbs only to come to a solution for the COVID-19 and other flus. I'm sure there is something in our Himalayas which will help us combat our issues with disease and medicinal issues later. So I request if you can do some studies because there must be something. Then broadly, we have got three parts of Himalayas. One is the Tarai Bhabar area, then the Shivaliks, the Middle Himalayas and the Greater Himalayas and the snow line beyond that. So because the altitudinal gradient is so high, we have got 8 out of the 16 forest types that Champion described for India. We have got 8 of them. So you can imagine the kind of reserve of biodiversity that we have in our hands and which we can use. So research is a very important component of our Uttarakhand biodiversity management strategy. And I'm very glad that the universities, like we have got VC, Kumail University himself sitting here, and VC IGNO himself sitting here, ex-VC of Garhwal University is a part of the panelist, and we have got a very important, very renowned environmentalist, Dr. Ravi Chopra, also as a part of the panel today. And GS Rawat, Dr. GS Rawat, everybody knows him. He's been a part of the Himalayan researches on Himalaya for a very long time. So for the newer students who are there and the researchers, these are all people who should try to follow and give us good research that we can actually implement in the field later. Then if you look at the kind of forest that we have, right from the riverine forest to the alpine meadows, we should appreciate the kind of biodiversity that we have and the use that we can put it to. Next, because we're talking about invasive species and forest fires, the main thing is that because wherever people are involved in some way or the other, the habitat starts degrading, the ecology starts getting affected. So most of these pressures on the forest are mainly anthropogenic, and even those which we say are natural disasters, they also have an anthropogenic component within them. Like most of our population lives in the Middle Himalayas and the Tarai Bhabar area. So this part of the ecology is highly susceptible to interference by the people because naturally people have the requirements of fuel wood, fodder wood. They will need some food material also from the forest. Then for revenue, we will need, or for livelihood generation, we need to do riverbed, some sort of riverbed mining, some timber collection, removal of oleopoint resin from the pine forests. The forests are a source of so much in terms of livelihood, in terms of revenue for the state, in terms of biodiversity. So all this has to be balanced. But around 90% of our population depends upon the forest in some way or the other. So this is at the very basic level, it is from grazing, lopping, food collection. At the higher level, it goes to industrial uses like timber production, Lisa production. And this all gets accumulated in some way or the other, the interferences that we do with our environment. And this leads to forest fires, landslides, flash floods. Even those do have a small anthropogenic component in them. Here are a few photographs. I'm sure you must have seen these while you're traveling in the Himalayas. Most of us are from Uttarakhand only, so we must have, these are very common images that we see. Ladies carrying huge amounts of firewood, huge amounts of these haystacks that they make in their fields. And these herders, the migrant herders as well as the local herders who bring their goats, their cattle, and they are here. Next, if the result of all these pressures on the forest is that invasive species are rampant. There are 190 invasive species overall throughout the Himalayas, mostly from Americas, and they are now damaging the ecological balance that we have. The biodiversity has reduced. Ecosystem functions are reducing because whenever a new species comes in, which is alien, which is aggressive, and which has somehow adapted to our circumstances, and for which we do not have any natural pathogen or pest or something which can control its population, then it starts expanding rapidly and starts affecting the resource availability for the local species. I specifically mentioned two species. One is Lantana camera, which is mainly in the Tarai Bhabar areas and the lower parts of the Himalayas. This is not a new species. Everybody knows about it, and it has been causing us problems for the past, I think, 5-6 decades. Earlier, it was introduced as an ornamental plant or something, but later it has taken over the entire undergrowth. In Sal forest, also in our lower side, pine, the lower reaches of pines, also you will find lantana is started to take over. Second is Eupatorium. Eupatorium is also called Kalabasa in the hills, and this is a genuine threat. For the past 3 or 4 decades, I think it has appeared in the past 3 decades. Before that, there was no report of Eupatorium in our Himalayas, but now Eupatorium is rampant everywhere. And because it is taking over, earlier, if you remember, or maybe your senior colleagues would remember, our Himalayas, they had a lot of ferns, a lot of wetness about it. Grasses were available. Today, you do not see that kind of ferns or grasses as an undergrowth. You will see Eupatorium everywhere. And Eupatorium is so dangerous. It has got vegetative growth is good. It has got a very good seed dispersion. It has got a good seed bank inside the soil. So these two plants, one in the Tarai area and the second is at the middle Himalayan area. These are the two most dangerous invasive species right now. I'm just flagging these. There are more, obviously. For lantana in the Tarai areas, we follow the CR Babu method for removal of those plants. And we are reclaiming a significant portion of our Tarai Bhabar grasslands, especially around Corbett areas and where we have our tiger habitats. We are doing this because the grasslands are important for the deer, who are in turn a prey for the tigers. So we have done a lot of work for removal of lantana in our Tarai Bhabar areas. Second is for Eupatorium, we do not have a SOP as of now, but wherever we find it in our plantation areas or whatever, we do make an effort to reduce the thing by, we actually have to bury the plant inside the soil. Otherwise, it again vegetatively reproduces. There are a few photographs. This is the way we reclaim lantana infested areas. This first one is a photograph from 2016 where the area was overgrown with lantana. It was treated. This is the CR Babu method where we keep it, and afterwards it was repopulated using the local grasses, and it is being grassland for the local herbivores for their use. Next is, because we are talking about the Himalaya as a whole, so the topmost part of the Himalaya, we have our bugyals or alpine meadows. These are a very, very important part of our ecosystem because most of our water comes from that. They are the main recharge areas for all our major rivers. Second is that the endemic species, the plant species available in the bugyals is very, very high. Third is the endemic species of animals also. Like our state bird monal is inhabitant of the bugyals, Himalayan thar, very typical animals which are not seen anywhere and very beautiful animals. They are all residents of the Himalayan bugyals. But what is happening is that the migrant herders who bring their livestock from other states or from the plains, they are living in the bugyals for extended periods of time, and the palatable grasses are being exhausted. So this is leading to a loss of nutrition for the local species, and the local species are also being damaged. Like a musk deer also is a part of this habitat area only. Next is, we have tried to, there is one example from Uttarkashi, Dayara Bugyal, one of the DFOs who was doing it. So Sandeep, he's now DFO Tarai Purvi. So he has given, the SOP for this Bugyal restoration is use of, I'll show you a few photographs. This is the destruction caused by movement of the animals in this highly vulnerable area. Because of the continuous movements of the animals and the loss of the vegetation, these sort of cracks are formed in the area. These are being treated by using geojute and pirul check dams and bamboos, and this has worked very beautifully. Dayara is an example for us, which we are trying to replicate now in Pithoragarh also. So we are trying to save our bugyals by this method. Next, we come to forest fires. Like we had a incidence of forest fire this year. 1 month we had a large number of forest fires. So around 30% of our forest are pine forests, and they are all middle Himalayas where people live. So people are living right inside pine forest, and in pine forest there are only two things. One is in summer you will find dry grass. Second, you will find fallen pirul or the fallen pine needles. Both are highly inflammable. And the cycle of fire, it repeats every 3 to 4 years. But since we are students of biology here, ecology rather, so I'll just stress on this fact that these pine forests, they are following the fire regime. They need fire for seed, for breaking their seed dormancy. And this is a way to recover the material. Like pine needles do not decompose because they have a very large proportion of oleopine resin. They do not decompose very fast. So when they burn, the ash returns back to the soil, enhancing its nutrition value. And as you know, most of the, like last year, we did not have too many forest fires because there was a lockdown in place. Everybody was inside their houses. This year, we did not have that. So everybody was out. So it is like most of our fires are mainly anthropogenic in nature. People burn the pirul needles for because they're very slippery. So they try to burn them wherever their roads or their village ki batiyas pe, they try to burn the pine needles. And then if it is well of a dry area or if it is very windy, then the fire moves uncontrollably out. So forest fires, we have been working with forest fires in our forest from 1911 onwards. Our forest fire
if you could
prescriptions.
summarize in 2 minutes, that would be nice.
This is the last slide.
Okay.
So like I said, the forest fires, there is only, as per our traditional forest working plan methods, we have only one method, which is control fire during the winter seasons. And during the summer seasons, we do control burning along typical areas, along roadsides or sensitive areas where there's a likelihood of anthropogenic fire. And finally, active firefighting, which we keep on doing. Here are a few photographs. And finally, the final step for eco-restoration is that we need to improve our soil and moisture conservation practices, because as we say, Cheer is increasing its area and all these kind of things, but it is happening because the moisture regime has changed. So if we increase our forest moisture regime, if we increase our soil moisture conservation activities, we can also change the biodiversity and the forest composition of the area. Here are a few photographs. I'm sure you must have seen these kind of contour trenches, which then get filled with water and they help in changing the undergrowth of that area. Here are a few photographs again, where we have created water bodies, which will help the animals as well as the people for their small irrigation requirements. And the way ahead is just that, because you're all students, and I'm really hoping that you come up with really good research in the future, which we can use in our practical ways in which we can treat our forests. Second is we should help our local communities to find an alternative to forest producers and whatever forest resources they are using. And third is to help conserve our endemic flora and fauna in an ecosystem-based approach. This is possible only if we get data and research, actionable data rather. So I thank you all for inviting me, and thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Patil. Now, I would like to know from Dr. Tiwari and others, how much time we have to conclude this session? Dr. Tiwari,
sir, we have a time till 2:30, sir.
Okay, we have 15-20 minutes. So we could possibly now take a few questions, 1 or 2 questions for each of the panelists. Are there questions for Professor S.P. Singh? the young students and researchers are encouraged to ask questions to Professor S.P. Singh. Any question or any clarification needed?
As Dr. Rawat,
Yes,
can I
sir.
add?
Yes, please, sir.
I think they don't have any question. There should be, and the forest department should look at this ban on tree cutting in a scientific way and think about what should be done in future. This ban on tree cutting has also affected pine forest in adverse way. At least some strands are getting more denser and losing their capacity to say adapt to fire. The bark becomes much thinner. They become say the open type of character of pine forest is almost gone. So my submission is that this ban on tree cutting, we are now reached the position where we can think about how to deal with ban on tree cutting, and future forest plans should be developed. Perhaps that is required. We have waited for a very long time, and my submission is that it's not. It has expanded. The pine has expanded the cost of oak forest because of this ban, but it has also affected the structure of pine forest. I don't know whether forest department is they prepared a report, I remember, to argue against this ban in court, but the scientific content was very weak. So perhaps they may create a team of researchers and see whether it is something which should continue or should be, and we should open. So my submission is that maybe this kind of questions should also be can be addressed by universities.
That is
Sir, I would like to
very.
respond to this.
Yes, please. Yes. Yeah.
So because we have been doing this we have been doing research on our pines throughout our working plan exercise. And since I have written the working plan for Nainital division, so I'll respond to this in this way. We have come to a conclusion that the felling on pine was very ill considered at 1976 UP government had made it. But right now the trees which were there, they are at the point of death, because the tree is not going to be, it's not immortal, it is going to die at a certain point of time. And because the canopy cover is completely closed, the new trees, the new pine trees or whatever it is there, it is not able to thrive. It is going through a process of dieback. So we have proposed in this our working plan, at least we should try a small 5 to 10% of our tree forest should be allowed we should be allowed to fell them as per our silvicultural practices. And it has gone to Supreme Court also. And I think our currently we are in the process of filing a new appeal also, where we would be allowed to fell our trees. It is in the working plan. The day the Supreme Court says we can start doing this at 5 to 10% of our forest land.
No, it's not. What I'm saying is something different. Sorry. What I was saying is that the densification of pine forest, which is against the nature of its typical pine forest, is creating new problems for pine forest itself. And
yes,
I've gone through those reports. They are not convincing. Sorry. You say something, but even if you go through the Manoj Chandran, their all report, they say that regeneration is good in all conditions, something like that, because sampling was not done properly. Such kind of conclusive research could not come, and that is creating problems. So my submission is that it should have some research orientation. Only then perhaps you need to really find out some evidences.
I will tell the CCF research to take it up with
the method which were used. They don't show those results. Sorry, I've gone through that report.
Yeah, and I think it is a very good discussion, sir. I would recommend that because Professor Singh is on the advisory committee of the research of Uttarakhand Forest Department. Next time, if there is a chance, these things can be further thrashed and the priorities for research can be also set up. I think these are very valid points. Apparently, there is a question to Professor Singh by one of the participants. I request the participant to ask a short question, not very long, and to the point. Thank you, Dr. Patil.
Yogesh Tripathi, please.
Is Mr. Yogesh Tripathi there?
गुड आफ्टरनून सर। मैं ये जानना चाह रहा था सर कि हायर एल्पाइन रीजन पे हम लोग फॉरेस्ट के हिसाब से किस तरह से एम्प्लॉयमेंट को जनरेट कर सकते हैं सर विद इकोसिस्टम कंजर्वेशन के साथ में सर।
हायर से आपका मतलब क्या था? अल्पाइन का मतलब अल्पाइन मीडोज और आप
सर
किससे मतलब?
सर अबव 2500
आप वहां मतलब उससे इसमें जॉब्स कैसे जनरेट हो सकते हैं?
यस सर। सर
Question-
मतलब कि हम फॉरेस्ट कंजर्वेशन के साथ साथ सर जैसे आप बात कर रहे थे कि एम्प्लॉयमेंट को इंक्लूड करते हुए हम लोगों को कंजर्वेशन का अप्लाई
मैंने
करना
कहा था
चाहिए।
कि कुछ सर्विसेज, कुछ चीजें ऐसी हो सकती हैं which may involve no cutting of forest, और जो इकोसिस्टम सर्विसेज फ्लो करती है उसके पैसे मिल सकते हैं। तो हायर वाटर जो मेन जो अपर स्ट्रीम के फॉरेस्ट हैं वो लोअर स्ट्रीम को कैसे सर्व करते हैं, अगर हम प्रूव कर सकें इन टर्म्स ऑफ इकोसिस्टम सर्विसेज एंड वाटर क्वालिटी, तो हम इस तरह के पेमेंट्स की बात भी कर सकते हैं। तो ये था। दूसरा था कि एक नॉन टिम्बर फॉरेस्ट प्रोजेक्ट है, मेरी टॉक छोटी थी, ये एक डार्क हाउस है, ये डार्क बॉक्स है, हम नहीं जानते कि क्या क्या कैसे जा रहा है। डिस्पाइट द creation of this biodiversity board, I'm still doubtful, even poaching तक भी होती है। अगर अनूप शाह जी के स्लाइड्स को देखेंगे आप तो you can find almost everything happening. So my submission that NTFPs को कैसे रेगुलेट कर सकते हैं and can be converted by value addition, can it become a source, ये बहुत दिन से बात चल रही थी, but still the whole thing is very clandestine. मतलब मीन्स कहाँ पेमेंट होता है, क्या होता है, कौन ले जाता है, ये सब चीज अननोन है। सो रेगुलेशन ऑफ फॉरेस्ट डिपार्टमेंट यहाँ पर बहुत कमजोर है। क्या हम कहते तो रहे, पर क्या जो लोकल कम्युनिटीज के साथ आप जैसे एक्टिव लोग राइट टू जिसे कहते हैं, आप अपने रिसोर्सेज पर राइट की बात चल रही है, उसको वाकई में स्टेब्लिश कर सकते हैं कि नहीं? अगर हम ऐसा कुछ कर सकें तो देयर कैन बी सम काइंड ऑफ जॉब क्रिएशन। माय सबमिशन वाज दैट कि अगर आप हिमालय, अगर एल यूनिवर्सिटी या बाहर की यूनिवर्सिटी इंटरेस्टेड हो सकती है रिसर्च में, तो रिसर्च इटसेल्फ कैन बी ए काइंड ऑफ जॉब एज फार हिमालय इज कंसर्न। आप क्लाइमेट चेंज के लिए मेजरमेंट चाहिए आपको हाई एल्टीट्यूड में खासकर, तो कौन करेगा? सो दैट काइंड ऑफ नेटवर्क और सम व्हाट वी कॉल, डॉक्टर गोपाल रावत नोज इट वेरी वेल, लॉन्ग टर्म रिसर्च की कहीं कहीं बहुत जरूरत है। सो देयर शुड बी मोर इनपुट एंड देयर कैन बी a lot of jobs should be created through this kind of thing. Research itself can be one of the jobs creation avenue as far as Himalaya is concerned. अगर आप कहते हो हिमालय बैरिड बायोडाइवर्सिटी, बहुत सब भाषण में सुन रहा था, ये आज से नहीं 50 साल से ये बात चल रही है। But if it is that, then why should it not be converted into some jobs? Why research can't be a job? अगर हम जो हैं ड्रामा कल्चरल एक्टिविटीज के लिए जॉब्स क्रिएट करते हैं, तो why research can't be? जो आपको डेटा तो चाहिए, आप यू आर वीक बिकॉज यू डोंट हैव एनफ डेटा एंड गुड एनालिसिस। तो मेरा कहना है कि ओवर द इयर्स, सॉरी टू ऑल वाइस चांसलर साहब लोग, कि हम यूनिवर्सिटी से प्रोजेक्ट्स भी नहीं आते हैं एट राइट प्लेसेस। सब वैसे ऑलरेडी इंस्टीट्यूट्स बहुत सारे पैसे ले जा रहे थे, अब जो डिपार्टमेंटल बॉडीज हैं जो ग्रांट देती हैं, वो भी उनको ही पैसे दे देती हैं और यूनिवर्सिटीज की पोजीशन वीक होती चली गई। वी नीड टू थिंक दैट वे। अगर आप जो डेवलप कंट्रीज हैं दुनिया के, वो सब यूनिवर्सिटीज के थ्रू गए, उनका वहाँ यूनिवर्सिटीज बिकम मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेंट प्लेसेस। या कोविड के बारे में कहीं बात होती है, वहाँ यूनिवर्सिटीज का आदमी बोलता है, हमारे मेडिकल डॉक्टर बोलता है, जो रिसर्च नहीं करता। with respect to everybody, research can be one of the major activities because Himalaya offers many ecosystems, many systems and resources where these things should be monitored. Plus जो मैंने कहा कि आप जो है इन रिसोर्सेज को सस्टेनेबली यूज करने की बात तो आ ही सकती है। जो नॉन टिम्बर फॉरेस्ट प्रोजेक्ट्स का आज तक कोई सस्टेनेबिलिटी की साइंस डेवलप नहीं हुई, कहीं भी दिखा दीजिए आप। आई एम वेरी हार्श, इतना बड़ा स्ट्रक्चर में फॉरेस्ट डिपार्टमेंट का बना रखा है, पर नॉन टिम्बर फॉरेस्ट प्रोजेक्ट को निकाला जाता खूब, रिकॉर्ड में बहुत कम है। फॉरेस्ट डिपार्टमेंट के ऑफिसर्स ने ही मुझे रिवील किया है कि हम सिर्फ 20% अकाउंट फॉर करते हैं, बाकी सब ऐसे जा रहा है। So my submission is that those things can be created a more open way, ज़्यादा ट्रांसपेरेंट वे में हो सकता है, और बच्चे बहुत सारे जॉब्स इस तरह से उनको मिल सकता है। There is a lot of opportunity both through research and with some research also. Please.
Thank you so much.
सर दिशा उप्रेती का एक सवाल है रिगार्डिंग द इन्वेसिव स्पीसीज। दिशा उप्रेती।
Dr. Tiwari, let us go turn-wise. Let us ask if there are questions to Dr. Chopra. If
Unmute.
I think there are questions for others. Give them a chance.
Okay. So then we can take questions first to Dr. Patil. At the most, 2 questions, please. Dr. Tiwari, you may invite the.
दिशा उप्रेती, please.
Good afternoon, sir. My question is, I want to ask from Tejaswini ma'am that how can we manage invasive alien species by harnessing their use potential?
Actually, I was going to mention that, but I forgot during the presentation. There are a lot of medicinal uses even for this Eupatorium and even for lantana. So if somebody can come with a way of extracting their oils or extracting their essential components in some way and involve some pharmaceutical company or something, it would be an excellent way of getting rid of them. And naturally, it will help as a job opportunity also, and it will help the natural flora also.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Any other question?
My one question with Dr. Chopra sir, कि जिस तरह से सर 4 धाम की सड़कें बनाई गई हैं, that is creating definitely fragile to ecosystem. But अब उत्तराखंड में जो विकास होगा, विकास और जो हमारे फॉरेस्ट कैसे बचाया जा सकेगा? डॉक्टर चोपड़ा सर से।
अगर हमें सतत विकास करना है तो जो गांधी जी उपदेश दे गए हैं उसी हिसाब से करना होगा कि सीमाएं बनानी होंगी। जितनी हमारी इकोलॉजी की सहने की सीमा है, उस सीमा के अंदर जो आप विकास कर सकते हो वो कीजिए। अभी एक सवाल उठा था कि हम लोग किस तरह से जॉब्स और एम्प्लॉयमेंट क्रिएट करें। कुछ समय पहले डॉक्टर एसपी सिंह ने एक चेतावनी दी थी कि अनकंट्रोल्ड टूरिज्म इज नॉट डिजायरेबल। और वो अनकंट्रोल्ड कहाँ है? वो 4 इलाकों में केंद्रित है मुख्य रूप से, ठीक है ना। इफ वी हैव डिस्पर्स्ड टूरिज्म, जो कि बात कई बार अखबारों में तो आती ही है कि वी शुड हैव कम्युनिटी बेस्ड टूरिज्म। There are many good examples of this. So instead of focusing all the tourism on 4 major routes in this state, if you can disperse it, there are places in the Terai, there are places in the middle Himalayas, there are places in the high Himalayas, जहां देखो वहां टूरिज्म का पोटेंशियल तो है और वहां समाज भी बसता है और वो ऐसे लोग हैं जो विकास से वंचित हैं। So they should be the ones who should be trained to act as guides, to act as hosts, and to show people the genuine wealth of the state. Okay? Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I
Thank you.
Can I add a point?
Sir, yes.
ललित, नैनीताल टूरिज्म से जब मैं वहां था तो कई बार बर्स करता था। इवन देन किसी नाव वाले को मैं रिच होते नहीं देखा, किसी रिक्शे वाले को रिच होते नहीं देखा, कि जो कुली था वो उसकी कंडीशन वही थी। So my point is that there's something basically wrong about this tourism. Our tourism, it is a kind of मेला। आप मेला को टूरिज्म से कंफ्यूज कर रहे हो, और ये क्राउड को कुछ दिन क्राउड रहता है which doesn't pay much। और तो मेरा कहना है कि इतने टूरिस्ट आने के बाद भी अगर लोग पहाड़ छोड़ रहे हैं, तो इट मीन्स इकोनॉमी को सर्व तो नहीं किया इसने. Money is going somewhere else. So this has to be looked in the other way. मैंने चीफ मिनिस्टर साहब से भी कहा था कि आपने नैनीताल को आदमियों से पार्ट दिया, इवन देन पॉवर्टी नहीं वहाँ की इरेडिकेट हुई, कुछ लोग जरूर अलग से. So my point is there is something seriously wrong about this tourism. और फिर कोविड जैसे जो इशू है, चाहे माने न माने 200 कंट्रीज में सिर्फ 6 महीने के अंदर फैलना, it is entirely because of tourism. So can we afford this kind of scale of tourism? जो कॉस्ट टूरिज्म कोविड की है, अगर ऐसे परसिस्ट करता रहा तो इतनी बड़ी होगी कि ये आपका चल नहीं पाएगा. जैसा रवि चोपड़ा जी ने कहा कि सतत विकास, और जो नेचर टूरिज्म की बात भी हम जब करते हैं तो नेचर वहाँ दिखाई नहीं पड़ता. मैंने कहा मुझे क्यों नहीं आपने क्वेश्चन किया कि न नैनीताल वाला कहता है कि हमारे पास वो फॉरेस्ट है, न बाहर वाला पूछता है ये फॉरेस्ट है क्या, एंड हम कहते हैं सब हम नेचर का टूरिज्म हो रहा है. सो इन मेनी केसेस nature tourism is for lip service.
Thank you so much, sir. I think we will conclude this particular session now. I have been given the responsibility of saying a few words regarding way forward. I'll dare to sort of take a few clues with from the excellent deliberations which have happened so far. It will not be possible for me to summarize what the panelists have said, but a few things, they come very, very clearly. First and foremost, the youth and the younger generation in the university, they have to now come forward, do a lot of field work, understand their environment, and participate in restoration, because the next decade is going to be the decade of ecological restoration. But until and unless we have the understanding of how forests and our watersheds and our surrounding ecosystems are degrading, what are the causative factors, until and unless there is an in-depth research on that, we will not be able to definitely contribute towards the restoration. Dr. Tejaswini Patil had also offered her support if students are willing to come forward to do small projects around the forests in the Nainital or in Kumaon region. The students should conceive very good projects, small projects, and do some good field work. Of course, the current COVID period doesn't allow that, but hopefully soon it will happen. Secondly, the eco-restoration part is not only restoring the degraded ecosystem, but also restoring the human connection to the nature. Like as of now, our younger society is not really connected. They are losing connections to the nature. So this is the time to commit to reaffirm our connections, our linkages with the nature, and because the environment is not only the concern of ecology department, zoology or botany department, as Dr. Chopra had also indicated.
Excuse me, sir. Sir, we have to go again on recharging this issue, sir. 2:30, another session is there. So
okay, but I have already, yeah, that is all I have to say. I thank the organizers for giving us this opportunity. I would like to say only one thing at the end, that with the points raised by Professor Singh and Dr. Chopra and Dr. Patil, that the university needs to reinvigorate the research, quality research in the university, and encourage the younger students. And today's event should not become just a ritual, but round the year, some activities, practical activities should go on. Thank you very much for giving us this opportunity. Over to Professor Tiwari. So
thank you, Professor G.S. Rawat, because only few seconds are there. So I'm just giving thanks on behalf of Kumaon University, Professor S.B. Singh, sir. Thank you, sir. Dr. Ravi Chopra, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Dr. Tejaswini Patil, CCF Kumaon. Thank you very much, ma'am. And I am also thankful to the Honorable Vice Chancellor, IGNOU, Professor Nageshwar Rao, Professor